On February 24, 2014, 29-year-old Kyle Peterson was driving his car in the vicinity of a small town in Oregon. Despite the fact that it was already dark and cold outside, this trip should have been ordinary for the young guy. At least that's what it seemed at first glance. At approximately 8:30 p.m., several people called emergency services and reported an accident on the road. Allegedly, a car rammed a fence and slid into the bushes.
He went off the road into the bushes, but it was after some really loud sound. I don't know what he's doing, but it looked like he was just going to drive right off the edge.
A few minutes later, a police officer arrives on the scene. He notices an SUV that has flown down the road. The dash cam video shows the officer walking up and down the road, shining a flashlight into the dark woods. At some point, a policeman notices Kyle next to the car, but the young man behaved strangely, and instead of going out for help, for some reason he turns around and runs away into the forest. The officer shouted after him, ordering him to stop, but there was no answer. Kyle Peterson disappeared into the woods. Soon after the incident, family, police, and volunteers begin searching for the missing guy. The family said this behavior was out of character for Kyle. "This is completely out of character and not at all like him. He is very level-headed," his mother said. "He may have hit his head on the steering wheel or windshield," she added. Kyle's vehicle reportedly hit a guardrail and went off the road. If you look at the photo of the car after the accident, such damage can hardly be called serious. With the exception of the side of the front bumper, his car appeared undamaged. All the windows also remained intact. No traces of blood were found either outside or inside the car. If you look at the accident site on a satellite map, you can see a steep slope leading down to the river. It was in this direction that the young man fled, leaving the scene of the incident. This fact began to raise concerns that Kyle could simply fall from the slope into the river, given that it was dark outside and he was in dense thickets. Sniffer dogs were used in the search, but they were unable to track Kyle. One of the police officers said there were steep cliffs that descended steeply straight to the river, so the dog tracked him to a safe point. A year or two ago, we had an incident where a dog fell off a cliff and got hurt. We knew the terrain was treacherous, and we weren't going to go beyond a safe point. Search crews spent the entire day searching the river. A friend of the Peterson family donated special sonar equipment for the underwater search. This equipment was more advanced than that of the police, but even these efforts did not allow Kyle to be found. There were reports that volunteers found some clothing and shoes in the search area, but none of it belonged to Peterson. Days, weeks, months passed. Kyle Peterson was never found, neither alive nor dead. His family has repeatedly expressed dissatisfaction with why the police officer who arrived at the scene of the accident did not follow Kyle as he disappeared into the bush. The police responded to this statement by saying that this is a matter of officer safety, and if the officer loses sight of the person, it becomes dangerous. On July 18, 2014, nearly 5 months after Kyle went missing, River Patrol officers responded to a call after a hiker reported seeing what appeared to be a human body floating in the river. Police arrived at the location and found the body of a deceased man. He turned out to be 29-year-old Kyle Peterson. The body was located approximately 3 miles from the scene of the accident. The family of the deceased, as well as the public, could not understand if he really fell into the river after the accident. Then how his body was not discovered during the first searches. Why was his body discovered only 5 months later by a tourist? Questions remain as to why. After the accident, the guy decided to hide in the forest instead of getting help. His family believes he suffered a head injury during the accident and was left disoriented and scared. But the most likely possibility is that Kyle was under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Having run off the road, he tried to push the car out, but a few minutes later, unexpectedly for him, the police arrived at the scene. Perhaps the guy realized that if the police accepted him and they determined that he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol, he would have problems with the law and be held accountable. Frightened by such consequences, the guy decided to hide in the thickets. In a state of shock from what was happening, making his way through dense thickets at night, he probably fell from a steep slope into the river. The fact that his body was discovered only 5 months after he went missing may indicate that the search efforts were not thorough enough to discover the body earlier. As often happens in such cases, bodies or remains of people are found after a while by accident. If you like this video and you want more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Good luck to all.